My brother deacons and brother priests and our seminarians who are here, especially I want to thank all of our youth ministers, all of you who give so much of your lives to our young people in our church, and especially to the organizers of this wonderful conference. A special word of appreciation from me as the bishop of the diocese for all that's been poured out upon all of you, and also the grace upon me these days. It's been really a great time. I'm sure all of you look a little tired and maybe didn't get much sleep last night, but it's all worth it. You've grown in your love for the Lord. You've grown in your awareness of knowing we need each other in order to stay as disciples. And we've had some fun. What could be better than to enjoy our company together in the Lord? So this is, for me, as the bishop, is always the high point of my summer. I look forward to all of you coming and being part here of Partnership for Youth. I thank Amy, I thank Pam, I thank all who work here in the Partnership for Youth, our partnership with Franciscan University for making this possible. I'm Bishop John Quinn, and it's my great joy to be with you this morning. When I was about your age, I thought I was really a good swimmer. Have you ever thought you're good at something, and then you find out you're not as good as you thought, and you hate to have it proven to you? Well, one July day, my brother, who is older than I am, this is when I lived back in Michigan, one of these beautiful Sunday afternoons, we were up north of a place called Port Huron, and it was really a hot, steamy Sunday. I'll bet it was 95 degrees. Well, we happened to have our swimsuits, and there was the St. Mary River. So my brother and me got on our swimsuits, and we jumped in the river, and did it feel good? You know, from all of that heat, and there's that moment where you feel so good in the water. But then I noticed, as I was in the river, I was being carried further and further from shore. I didn't realize there was this fast current in the St. Mary's River. In fact, I was going so far out from shore, then I said, I better really start swimming. And as I was swimming, trying to get back to shore, I discovered I was only staying in place. Or as soon as I eased up, I was going further out. And there was a shipping channel where freighters come through. And I was getting a little bit nervous, but I thought, I can do this. I'm cool. I can handle this. Well, I kept going further away from shore. Then my brother Georgie, who was much better at swimming, more athletic, comes alongside me and he says, keep swimming. Come on, harder. Put it out there. Well, as hard as I was swimming, I wasn't getting anywhere. Then he says to me, if you can't make it to shore, then get on my back and I'll get you there. You see, all of us, we need Jesus Christ. We need someone who's going to enter our lives, and especially when it looks like we're not going to make it. At times when our own strength, being cool, thinking I knew more than what I did, that I can do it myself. That's why all of you are here. And what a blessing it is that you're here. Because you know without Jesus Christ, your life and my life are empty. And what I'm trying to do is be better than I think, be cooler or slicker, and think I can do these things and get by. And yet it's only by allowing Jesus Christ to really be the one who saves us and redeems us. One of the things I learned, and I still hear my brother saying it to me, if you can't make it, get on my back. You see, we need each other. It's difficult to live the Christian life alone. You see all the brothers of mine up here on this stage. They're your brothers too. They are with us on this journey. The priests and our deacons, they need you as you need them. We need to pray for one another, to give each other good example, to be there when times are tough, so that the love of Jesus Christ becomes visible, becomes present, and we know that our God is with us. Now, that gospel today is really challenging, because that gospel is all about Jesus sending his disciples out. You're going to be going back out this afternoon, and you're his disciples. Are you going to go out with Jesus at the center, or do you go back out armed with your own talents, thinking I can do it alone? You know, see what Jesus puts to his disciples: don't get bogged down with the things of the world. Because the disciples, as they're heading out, he tells them, don't take more than one walking stick. Keep the coin in your belt. Don't take more than you need. Don't even have a second tunic. Boy, most of us, we know we've got more than we could ever use. And Jesus knew that if they went out with the mentality of doing it themselves and relying on their resources, they wouldn't be talking about Jesus. They'd be talking about themselves and how cool they are, because they would have authority over serpents. They would be able to do things that deal with grace and curing and anointing the sick. But he wanted them to know that's God's power, and God is using them in order to touch the lives of those whom God is embracing through those he sends out on mission. But you know, it's not easy. We live in a culture that has quite an undercurrent. And before you know it, that undercurrent can start taking you away from the Lord. Just think how wonderful this Sunday morning is, because Jesus Christ is the center, and you're coming for Eucharist. You've got to keep doing that every weekend. Otherwise, you're trying to do it on your own. You're trying to leave Jesus out except when you need him. And you're not being a witness. And instead, you're doing what the rest of the world does. Sleep in, go to the gym, hang out with friends. When the friendship that is most important in your life and in mine is the friendship with Jesus Christ. And you know the difference you make. When you're in a parish, when you're doing the readings, when you're there and part of the choir and the musicians, when you're greeting people, when you serve Mass, when you're in the congregation, everyone notices you. And the gifts that you have are being put at the service of building up the church. Your pastors who love you, your pastors who couldn't be here, love you. And they want to embrace you and the gifts you bring to build up our church. Don't let that current, the one I experienced in a river, but the current in our culture, take you further and further from Jesus. And if you do, you know there's a way back. Call out for Jesus. He's there to bring you safely. He will carry you as he's carried me and carried everyone who trusts in him. Remember also that first reading when the prophet is being told to go prophesy. He doesn't want to go because people who speak for God in a culture are going to be made fun of. And yet the Lord is asking you and me to swim against the tide and to proclaim his truths, that every life has dignity, that from the moment of conception, the Lord has breathed a soul, and that's a human person. The Lord is asking you to care for the poor, the sick, the uneducated, to be a friend to the immigrant. The Lord is asking you to believe that right to the last moment, our lives have value, and only God, who gives life, completes it, and brings us home in death. Stand up for marriage, but at the same time, as we proclaim our truths, and that's difficult. We're in a culture that doesn't want to hear it, but we do it with conviction and love. And we never exclude anyone. We are a church that welcomes, but welcomes people to put Jesus at the center. And for all of us to strive to live pure lives with chastity, with a sense of justice and compassion, and not to be bogged down with the things of this world and to get caught in the current of a culture that's taking us from Christ. Well, blessed are you. You've heard the Lord and his call. Be his disciples. Get in a love relationship with Jesus Christ and let him carry you and me and help carry one another so that we be his faithful disciples every day. People seeing Christ's work in us, and every weekend celebrating the Eucharist so that we can be filled with the power of his body and blood. So we become what we receive, and what we receive, we live out in mission.